Howdy y'all, welcome to my review of Cleveland, Ohio's Raw. Now, let's get some things straight before I get started, very simply and quickly. Was this a good build going into Money in the Bank? We got 2 weeks left. This particular show is not that great. Yeah, it had a lot of action in it and a lot of stuff going on, but it doesn't mean it was building properly into Money in the Bank. Money in the Bank was fully, clearly mentioned, but I just didn't feel like it was a good build. I want to get that ahead of time done, because as you can see with the title below, I will be focusing on that at the end. You see, I'm messing up because I can't wait to do it, but I got to do everything else first, so let's get this done. Opening up the show with the locker room and Stephanie and Hunter. Triple H, the game, the King of Kings. I had to do it at least once. It was standard. I don't see anything different about it, except Stephanie wearing a black top that mostly saw some of her nips. Now, I'm not trying to be totally sexual here, but let's be honest. Stephanie's a beautiful woman, and since she got the breast implants, a lot of times she tries to minimize those breasts, and she can't. She wanted bigger breasts, she got bigger breasts, and now being a mother of two, still having bigger breasts, she tries to act classy. Dress classy, but you can't. Not with those breasts the way they are. Now, how do I feel about what happened with Vicki Guerrero? I'm going to say it like this. Fart anyone? If you think about Natalya a couple of years ago, doing that fart shit, it's kind of like that. Look, we don't have any Guerreros currently in the WWE. Not really. At least as far as I know. Other than Vicki. And seeing her being put in this situation is kind of stupid. What was the point of her getting coffee, and then it would have been better if they just did the throw up outside the door. She didn't have to get it. She didn't. To do that for Roman Reigns, you could say, well, that's the best way to get Roman Reigns in. But honestly, I felt it was too cheap for Roman Reigns. And then, next to Roman Reigns having to do it that way to get into the Royal Rumble, Vicki, who isn't a great character in WWE, didn't deserve it like that. It's like the fart jokes for a Natalya. I didn't like them. Maybe a couple of times at first, it was funny. But then it kept going and going and going and going. What was the point? And that's what we're getting with Vicki. She's already sneezed on them once before with the bubbly. She's already gotten her ass in trouble before like that. What is the point of this? I don't get it. Okay. We got Dolph Ziggler versus Seth Rollins. My problem with this is Seth Rollins did not change his ring attire. I know you could say, well, it's a little too early. The Shield still has to wear the same. No, they don't. Let's be honest here. Dean Ambrose came out to kick Seth Rollins' ass before the end of the match, wearing just a top, some jeans, and maybe some sneakers or boots. And he looked way better than Roman Reigns did and Seth Rollins did. They look like they're still a part of the Shield, while Dean Ambrose, who is the most polished of all three of them, looked way better. Honestly, he did. He even sounded way better than Roman Reigns did when he was talking with Vicki Guerrero. I'm sorry, he did. Of course, that was in a different situation, but he just sounded better. And the match afterward, when the game made him get into a match with Bad News Barrett, Dean Ambrose looked very good. He looked crazy. He reminds me of Roddy Piper. To me, I know that everybody else sees something a little more than that. But honestly, I see a pure form of a Roddy Piper. A hot-headed Scotsman. So that just makes me feel like he could get somewhere. That's if they push him. And since we are talking about a hot-headed Scotsman, let's move on to a hot-headed Irishman. And a stupid match. Sheamus versus Bray Wyatt, with the family there and eventually the Usos coming out. And I love the Usos. They're still over. They're great. But now they're going from one high star to another to another. It's not a bad thing. But when you see faces win over all at the end, if you're trying to get Bray Wyatt over, why are you letting it get his ass handed to him by Sheamus, the U.S. champ? I can understand a Daniel Bryan. I can understand, to a certain extent, barely certain extent, a Bad News Barrett. But of course, Bad News Barrett lost his ass. I mean, well, of course, he didn't really lose the match, he won it. But still, Dean Ambrose looked good on Bad News Barrett. But why couldn't we get that for Bray Wyatt, who's a much more stronger character than a Dean Ambrose? Let's be honest, comparing Dean Ambrose to a Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt has a lot more potential at this moment. He's much more over than a Dean Ambrose. He is. But the problem, they wouldn't let Bray Wyatt get over. They're burying his ass. And if anybody says that he's not getting buried, you need to reevaluate yourself, because he is. I'm sorry. He's getting his ass handed to him badly. Oh. So sad. So let's move on to the Fandango and Layla versus Adam Rose and Summer Rae. Kevin Hart was there. Now, I have seen Kevin Hart a couple of times. I didn't see, what was it? Think Like a Man? I didn't see the first one. You don't get that option when basically you have no money to go anywhere. I heard about it. That was reasonably funny. Now, the second one's being released. I'm actually tired of seeing so many of these guests come out. If you do it once a year for somebody really high-end or special, maybe J-Lo, maybe a, what is it, Angelina Jolie, once in a while, really, a Arnold Schwarzenegger. But they do this every 6 months or so or something, which is stupid. They get the B-class players, very rarely get the A-class. And essentially, he isn't a bad guy. He's a funny guy. But I didn't really care that much. But don't get it twisted about Layla, baby. I saw the little snippet of Tuesday night. I'm botching because Summer Rae got her ass handed to her. She deserved that shit. You do not mess with my Layla L. Kick her ass. Throw some milk on her. Well, I didn't mind that part because Layla had some beautiful breasts with a gorgeous face. You got what you deserve. You got your ass handed to you with some milk and some cat litter, baby. You deserve that shit. I'm sorry. But in the end, what do we get? Layla and Summer Rae running up the ring. Adam Rose getting over. And then Kevin Hart supposedly getting over as well. Now, I did hear the Slug Daddy's video about Adam Rose not getting over anymore because they want to bury his ass. And I really believe that is the wrong thing to do. If it is true, I don't watch the spoilers, as you guys know. I try not to fit that into my life because then I will really lose interest in this. I love wrestling because of the mystique, the surprise, me figuring it out. If I read what's going on, why the hell do I care? But you get my point. I really hope they don't dump Adam Rose because he's a very interesting character with all those people out there. Including one black girl that was there once that was beautiful. Let's move on. Rusev Real. Whatever. Rusev versus Heath Slater. He didn't have 3MB in tow. It was just him. He sounded very good. A little better than what he normally sounds. Rusev is always Rusev. Talking more English, which is very good. They're kind of saying, Rusev, look. Lana's doing most of the work. We want you to show more character. Work with her. Then eventually I believe he's going to be over her. He will talk more than her eventually. That's the way I see it's going to happen. Eventually I believe that Lana is going to become a wrestler. Eventually, not now, for quite a while it's not going to happen. And I'm still in love with Lana. She's a gorgeous woman that loves Vladimir Putin. And in the end, Rusev kicks Heath Slater's ass seriously bad. But he's still being built up, and that scares me. And you guys know what I mean. Because I'm going to do it right now. I'm getting it over with. The stretcher match with John Cena versus Kane. There was nothing there that was interesting to me. The minute I heard there was a stretcher match, I didn't think he was going to lose. I thought three things. One, he wasn't going to lose. Two, Kane was going to kick his ass through part of the match, which is going to make him look really bad. And three, that in the end, John Cena will pull it out in a way that's supposed to be heavy dramatic and the crowd would cheer to a certain extent, which they did. I didn't even watch most of the match. I didn't need to because I knew he was going to win because he had to be in the ladder match. And that still worries me that he may get back into the title scene. And that's why I'm also worried about Rusev. If they build Rusev the way I think they're building him, Rusev eventually is going to be facing John Cena by Survivor Series. I kid you not. I'm predicting it now. If I'm wrong, fine. You can come back to me by November and say, dude, you are fucking wrong. And I don't mind being wrong. But I can see it right now. If they keep building Rusev the way he is, he will be facing John Cena by Survivor Series because they got no one else to use. Had to get that out. The next thing that was interesting, Paul Heyman. He sounded very, very good leading before the Battle Royal, which I'll get to in a minute. I can say this. If this is going the way I believe it's going with Paul Heyman, that he's with Cesaro for one reason. I know a lot of people saying that's because Brock Lesnar's in there and he's just getting heat. But I have this other idea. There's a reason why he's with Cesaro. There's a possibility by next year that if he's with him long enough and they build him just right, that Cesaro could take that Undertaker's streak away from Brock Lesnar. I know this is a long shot, but the way this is going, that he's always mentioning Brock right before he does Cesaro. And of course you can think, well, of course, he's going to always mention because he needs to get himself some heat. But this kind of makes me think, well, what would happen that Brock Lesnar has been slated to face a Cesaro by the time of WrestleMania or close to it? I don't think they'll put it on the card, but what happened if they did? This actually would make some sense why Brock Lesnar was the one to do it. Because he's always been a good heel, but if they turn Cesaro face like he should be, it actually would make some sense. I know this is a long shot, but it is something to think about. So tell me how you feel about it. Let's see. Next. It's time to say it. Cameron and Paige. The match. That really gives you a question. Will they be heel? Cameron, who's always been a face with her Naomi partner, with my Trinity Fatu. The gorgeous Trinity Fatu that is so beautiful that it was easy to fall in love with her. But Cameron was someone I fell in love with first. I did. I did fall in love with Cameron at first. Because she was a beautiful, sexy woman. But seeing this, a heelish Cameron a little bit, even though she got her ass kicked, makes me think this. Either a couple of things. One, Cameron is turning heel, and eventually Naomi will turn heel to go with her. Two, this was just a 1 or 2 time thing and Cameron will always stay a face. She just acted this way because they need a new challenge for Paige. 3, Cameron and Naomi may split up and actually have a feud, which I think is the most remote thing. But it would be something different. 2 black women having a feud would be something different. 2 black women being heels would be something different. I know you could say, what happened to Alicia Fox? Yes. But we never see Naomi turn heel. Cameron showed a little heel right there, but as a cowardly heel. But you never know what could happen. So this is my thoughts about that. And Cameron looked hot like that. Okay. I believe I've covered everything I needed to cover. It's time. Ryback versus, and I'm dubbing them the Dust Brothers, as you can see below. Goldust has been looking for a partner for so long that would work for him, that work with him, that would work by his side, that makes sense, that makes everything come together in one whole piece. So, instead of breaking Cody off to have a heel turn, or Goldust to have a heel turn and go at each other, so we could have something completely different and compelling, they decide to dress up Cody as in an old Goldust suit that he used to wear and turn him into Stardust. Look at this man right here, ladies and gentlemen. Look at him. This is Stardust now. Cody Rhodes before, the handsome man, then the man in the mask, has now turned to Stardust. The crowd was screaming Stardust, and I don't blame them. This was epic. I'm sorry. Even though it's kind of sad to see Cody not breaking away from his brother and doing something different, and his brother not turning heel and facing him, this is actually something that is funny and something compelling. You got two masked Avengers that may do something interesting in the future. If Cody goes with this, and Cody can go with a character. I've seen him before when he was facing Rey Mysterio and he wore that mask, and he did have a certain persona that was really good. If he lets himself really go and just plays with it, and even though he doesn't do what the Gold does, he could do something else with the butterfly thing. I don't know. Like this with the star could be interesting. It kind of bites off of AJ Styles, to be honest. That looked like an AJ Styles spot. You guys can tell me below, but it really did look like it. The phenomenal one, I'm not going to call him that, but you get my point. It was phenomenal to see that. Yes, it doesn't mean it's better for him, but you never know if it could be better for him. I would like seeing something different from WWE. And this one thing of Stardust being born could be something good, but it is hard to say how far to let Cody go with it, or Cody himself is willing to go with it. Now, how do I feel about this show? As I said in the very beginning, it wasn't a great show, and because it's trying to build into Money in the Bank, and the Money in the Bank build for a while hasn't been that great. I am not fond of this build. I just don't feel like it's right. You guys can tell me the reason you believe is working well, and if you liked the Dust Brothers, hashtag the Dust Brothers, or Brothers of the Dust. I still believe the Dust Brothers sounds better. So I hope you enjoyed the Zane view. Please give me a comment below. Give me a thumbs up. Tell me if I'm doing something right. And I really hope Cody doesn't go home like that to his wife, because she's going to think, what the fuck are you doing? Or she'll think, bring that makeup over here so I can rub it all over myself. Peace out!